which is what? What does retirement look like? And the principle, if you can see it and feel it, you'll commit to it. Does anyone see a tremendous application, be able to use these cards? This is not just an exercise for fun. This is an exercise that can give you insight into clients that can be gained in maybe no other way. And it's insight that you can build on for the life of the relationship you have with that client. If you take nothing else away from this presentation, take the cards. But there's more we want to talk about. There's question number 2. And boy, is it tempting, now that we've found out what they want to do, to talk about the dollars. We've got their story, so let's go to the numbers. But remember, our clients are not just a story of numbers. There are a number of stories. We've gathered their story. We've gathered where they want to go. What is question number 2? I mentioned there are only 3 questions that matter in the retirement conversation. And we get them backwards. But in the right order, as we're approaching it today, we've dealt with question number 1. What does it look like? And it means different things to different people. And you've got a practical tool to have a conversation. Now, this conversation can take place in one sitting. It may take 3 months, 4 months. It may take you a year to finally figure out, particularly if you're working with a family, what they really want their retirement to look like. But it's work well spent. Let's talk about question number 2. When's it going to happen? Before we get to the what's it going to cost, we've got to talk about when this is going to happen. And that really means understanding the events that will occur that will spur this retirement transition, we'll call it. Knowing it's no longer a finish line, it is a series of events. And so what we want to give you in this particular section is an opportunity to look at a tool that answers the question, when is this all going to happen? Because here's one of the impediments in having the conversation regarding retirement. There's a lot of people that don't want to talk about retirement because the thought of all of the events surrounding retirement can be frankly overwhelming. And so they won't do it. And we're not often equipped with the right tools to have a conversation about all the events. Some of the events are fixed. There are things that are going to happen that we have no choice. They're going to be occurring based on our company, based on what the government provides for us, but there's also a lot of variables. It can be, however, chaos. Now, let me give you a principle. If we can take the chaos of all of the events surrounding retirement and provide some order to that, we'll create confidence. I fly for a living. I must do 120,000 miles a year on American Airlines. And that subjects me, although I fly out of O'Hare Airport, to a lot of delays. It wasn't long ago, as a delay became 1 hour, and then 2 hours, and then 3 hours, that I found myself one of the only passengers left on the plane, just hoping this plane would take off. So with a few minutes to spare, hadn't done it in a long time, and this was a new actual piece of aircraft I hadn't been on before, I walked up to the cockpit and engaged the pilot in a conversation. Because as you board an airplane and oftentimes turn to your left and look, what you see is a myriad of buttons and levers and switches. And so I took the opportunity to leave my seat in the middle of this long, irritating delay and asking the pilot a simple question. I know you've probably heard this a million times, but how do you keep track of all of those buttons and levers and switches? And he was incredibly friendly. He put his beer down, he turned to me and he said, "Scott, it's real simple." He said, "Mr. West, I've been flying for some 25 years. And he said, I rely on this tattered little guide." And he had in his hand about a palm-sized guide that was dog-eared and obviously well-used. And he said to me the following. He said, "There are 2 times you've got to be very, very mindful of potential danger in flying. The takeoff and the landing." He said, "We take no chances." And over years and years, we've come down to know that there are more than 50. In fact, if you want to know the truth, there are 54 checkpoints we go through, no matter who I'm flying with, that we check off before we actually begin to ascend. And then on the landing, get this, there's another 17 that we go through every time, no matter how long we've been flying. What he's really doing is creating for me a sense of what? Well, I still had a sense of frustration as I went back to my seat because I'm still waiting another hour to take off. But he had done something very powerful that represents what we believe is the second principle. Once you first understand what a client wants to do with their retirement, before we jump into how much it's going to cost, we've got to deal with, well, when is this all going to happen? And the principle is that if we can create order from chaos, we will leave the client with confidence. And as salespeople, a great definition of selling is the transfer of confidence. And one of the best ways to transfer confidence is to create order out of chaos. And that cockpit for us, as we face retirement, can include all kinds of incidents. There are some that we know are going to happen, like when our particular portfolio is going to begin, if it's a pre-tax portfolio, is going to begin paying out. There are Medicare costs, there's insurance, there's our mortgage, there are income limits on Social Security. There is dozens of events that make up the dials in that cockpit. So what we'd like you to do is think about the possibility of looking at the answer of when retirement will occur in the way that might be most effective to help a client understand it by way of what we call a retirement lifeline. Looking at someone's life in a linear lifeline. Now, if you'll open your kits, what you'll find is a little brochure, and it's called the Lifeline, and its design is placed right at the very top. The design of this exercise is to take chaos and make some order of it, because we believe not only if they feel it, they'll do it, but if they can feel confident about the events surrounding retirement, they'll take the necessary steps. There are really three components to this lifeline. Now, let's make it simple. There's events where money is going to flow out. We'll call those debits for you accountants in the room. There are events where money is going to be flowing in. We'll call those credits. And then thirdly, there are implications, or maybe we'll call them investment applications, where these events, whether they're money coming in or going out, will actually spur tremendous strategic opportunities for you to have conversations regarding the products and services that Fidurum offers. Now, this is not an opportunity to do a deep dive into a product discussion. What I ask you to do, first of all, is to make the lifeline your own, is put your own age down on the lifeline. Let's make this your lifeline. I really believe in not showing any tool to a client that you haven't put through yourself. So you can see the spaces where you can actually put your age in there. Make it your lifeline. Now, on the top of the lifeline are what we're going to call all the money in moments. And these are really defined by those opportunities where we know there are fixed times in the future when money is going to be coming our way. This could be when we retire from our company and a fixed pension might be generated. It could be a disbursement from the government. It could be money that we know is going to come from the results of the cessation of alimony payments from a divorce. It could be a trust disbursement. And we've got 6 more that we're going to be working on that will be all potential moments in your life when you can put your finger on the opportunity where money is going to come in. Now, below the line are what we call money out moments. And some of you have begun thinking about those already when you went through those lifeline cards, or went through those vision cards. You began to think about things you'd like to do. They have a price tag attached to them. So, on below the line, what we're going to ask you to do is think about those events, and they don't have to be fixed events with exact dates in mind, but think through what are the occasions in the future where we know we're going to have debits, where money's going to flow out. We've got a list here on this slide of 8 different situations where money could be flowing out. It could be, as you see here, a second home. Maybe it's a commitment you've made to pay a percentage of your grandchildren's college. Maybe it's a new car for a college graduate. I know in our family with our 4 kids, it may not be a new car, but my kid's mother and I have committed to making sure that each of our kids receives some kind of 4-wheel vehicle when they graduate from college, if they do that successfully. It may be more serious. It may be that you know because of some life illness in your family that at some point you're going to be taking aging parents or ill parents in with you. You don't know the exact year, but you know it's coming. It could be that you're at a stage in life where you haven't even begun college yet and you're beginning to think about college tuition, plan for it, put the dates on it. It can be as practical as your needs are. Retirees buy new cars. They end up spending sometimes less than they think, but they do spend money. So what we'd like you to do is, over the next few minutes, we're going to have an exercise where we ask you to consider those three things. And the tool we put in front of you, again, is a tool designed to be used by you in a vibrant session that may span 6 months or a year, where you begin to do three things. One, look at events where money could be coming in. Look at events where money could be flowing out. And then thirdly, have a discussion about what applications or implications those events have on potential investment strategies. So what I'd like us to do is break up into groups of 3 this time, if we would, and take a few minutes, if you would, at the beginning, and just fill out the lifeline as best you can for yourself. Again, you'll never have any confidence to present this to a client unless you do it yourself. So we'll give you the first 5 minutes just to, as best you can, looking at your situation, fill your own personal lifeline in with those first 2 components. When is money coming in that I can count on? When, as best as I can ascertain, is money going to be flowing out? And then secondly, what we'll do is have you in a triad or pair. We haven't thought about this. This is really on the fly. What we'd like you to do is think about what are the implications for these events? What strategies? Maybe not what individual products, but what investment opportunities for gathering assets do these lifeline events potentially open up for us? Okay, that's that.